and welcome again to not another one, where we have yet another story. Or I say story, another topic. Apologies for taking a week off last week. Issues arose and were overcome, but too late. So we are back now a week later.
I was poorly, so I was just in bed for most of last week.
And I had a lot of catch up to do because I was behind in work, as it is. So this week we will be. We decided that we'd be talking about female leaders. A very important topic in the world. It's the reason we decided to discuss female leaders and their importance and what they do for the world, etc., is because of a recent story. I think it's from a week ago now, a week and a half ago, from when Sanna Marin, the Finnish Prime Minister, was in Australia meeting Jacinda Ardern, in New Zealand, the New Zealand Prime Minister. Yeah, I almost got that wrong.
Some Aussies are going to come for you now. That's it.
No, I will let her. But yeah, so they were meeting, and let's just say that one reporter had a bit of a mare with their questioning. Do you want to explain?
There was one reporter there who, I can't remember what organisation he was from, but stuck his hand up, asked a question, and said, "Oh, are you meeting just because you're mates, or is this an actual political thing? Will there be trade deals, etc.?" But basically, the question was, "Are you meeting just because you're both women?"
Yeah,
I mean, you would never ever get that question to a male leader. No one would ever think to ask that, because you just don't. It doesn't cross your mind that, oh yeah, this political meeting of leaders of countries, it's just because they're mates.
I mean, you think about it, like, as a journalist going to a press conference with two prime ministers, you would think that your question would be about policy or something like that. What in the world made you think that your question, that your one question you get to ask, should be, are you meeting because you're both women of a similar age? Like, what has that got to do with it?
If he'd put his hand up and said, "Oh, what sort of trade deals can we expect between Finland and New Zealand?" Or, how's this going to work in the future? What's the relationship going to be? Is it going to be trade? Is it going to be tourism, like tourist links? But no, he just went straight in for, "Oh, you're both women. You're both the same age. Yeah, you're just having a chat."
I think there's more pressing issues than asking that question. I did love Jacinda Ardern's response about what if Barack Obama and John Key, who was the former New Zealand Prime Minister, what if they'd met? Would you have been asked the same question? I don't know what the name of this journalist. I can't remember it now, but he's got his headline, just not the one he thought he was going to get.
He's done what every journalist shouldn't do and become the headline.
Basically, it's not about the journalist. It's about bigger things than that. But
it's systemic of a bigger problem, I think, is the issue. And I think it comes from the fact that female leaders aren't commonplace in the world. There are quite a few countries with female leaders, but
no.
In the UK, I think it's something Labour needs to have a think of itself and think, why have we never had a female leader of the party? There's been 3 female prime ministers of this country, and they've all been from the Conservatives.
Yeah, and also they've all, well, not all, 2 of them have been forced out by their party ultimately in quite volatile scenes, shall we put it, at least. Margaret Thatcher, whatever you think about her policies, she was at the forefront for the UK and somewhat even the world, you could say, as well, when it comes to female leaders. And she represented a political shift. And I think, no matter what you think about her policies, whether you're pro or anti-Thatcherism, she was treated horrendously by her party in the end. And the same goes for Theresa May, who came in to a job that was a horrible one to pick up following the Brexit vote and valiantly tried to actually make it work and ultimately paid the price with her party splitting and basically bullying her out of number 10.
There were a lot of sexist articles about Theresa May as well when she met Nicola Sturgeon, and I think it was the Mail went with who won Legsit.
Yeah.
Why? In what world is that a headline? Two leaders of political parties meeting up to discuss politics, and you go with who's got nice legs.
I mean, Theresa May, like a lot of the newspapers in the UK loved to have their stories focused on her jewelry or her shoes, because she's apparently famous for liking shoes. But never was there really that much. Has she been a success or not with Brexit negotiations? Those were like, sort of swept a little bit more, out of the way. It was more interesting for people apparently to read about whether she was wearing Dior or anything like that day. And it's just like, what's that got to do with it? And I mean, Liz Truss obviously is not maybe the best example because she is literally the shortest serving prime minister in British history and was a travesty for British politics. But she still received a lot of hate, shall we put it. And I mean, you look at other countries. When I was looking, like, again, coming from Sweden, I come from an area that is renowned for having very high equality between men and women. There has been some backward steps in recent years, but at one point, I think it was a year ago now, before the Norwegian prime minister was replaced. But at one point, all of the Nordic region, all of Scandinavia, was run by female leaders. I had remember the names now. So you had Sanna Marin in Finland, Mette Frederiksen in Denmark, Magdalena Andersson in Sweden, Katrin Jakobsdotter in Iceland, and Erna Solberg in Norway. So, like, that was an amazing thing right there. For example, that, like, you had a entire region run by female leaders, and it's not even just a Western thing. Like, you've got the Caribbean, there's a lot of female leaders. Like you were saying before, Africa has a lot of female leaders. Like, there's a lot of steps being taken forward, but stories like this, it shouldn't be commonplace still anymore. We are better than that. We should be in a better place.
We should be, but we're not. It comes down sometimes to people and their views anyway. There's back to when Trump was running against Hillary. I think Trump even said, if I'm running against Hillary, I'll win. Because I think America's bizarre anyway. But I think female leader in America is still beyond comprehension for a lot, especially middle America. I think a lot of them think, a lot of the rhetoric that was coming out in the articles, Hillary's she's a woman, she might have a hot flash and press the nuclear button. Like, no, she won't, because she'd be the leader of a country. That's not how it works. And when you've got the big orange toddler in charge, he's more likely to do it. But there's a great journalist called Jordan Klepper, and he basically goes to Trump rallies and like turns Trump logic onto the people.
I love those
out in it. And there's one that always sticks in my mind, and this guy's saying like, they're talking about respecting women and stuff, and he was like, we need to respect women. I've got daughters, we really need to, women should be respected and blah blah blah. And he goes, so what's it on his shirt? And it says Trump that bitch with like a picture of Hillary, and he's like, Hillary, blah. I was like, but respect for women, and the guy literally just flips again and goes, respect is what it's all about. Like, can't see the irony in what he's saying. And I think that's the issue with a lot of the general population of the US, probably the UK as well. I think
people like that make me like hurt inside a bit.
They're just people that can't see the irony of what they're saying against what their views are. It's terrifying, to be honest.
I mean, people go with this line of thought, the train of thought, basically, where it's you get arguments, which is there's not enough women, so more women get elected, and then known as older white men. But a lot of people start then saying, "Oh, but we should be taking the best people for the job," and so on. And yes, the best people for the job should be the ones that is elected. But in my experience, the best people for the job generally, well, especially as leaders, usually are women. More men have started wars. Like more men are more likely to start wars. Like,
I don't think any war in the history of ever has ever been started by a woman. So
it is a worrying train of thought where it's like if you do one thing, if you go one way, you're not being your level of equality is poor, or you do it the other way and you're being unfair to men. And I think that is the worst mentality that you could have. I mean, again, maybe because of my better experience of the region, but Scandinavia has done brilliantly out of female leaders in recent history. And we're talking about countries that have had female leaders for far longer than a lot of these other, say, big, like the G7 nations. And it's more commonplace. Sanna Marin is the youngest prime minister ever, I think. Definitely in Finland. But like, you know, she's done great things for Finland. She's been a top leader, and she's taken brave decisions. Joining NATO this year, for example, is a decision that is not going to be taken. It's not something that could be taken lightly for Finland. Same with Magdalena Andersson in Sweden. Like, you know, those are big steps, and they've had to take those steps within, like, you know, sticking their head over the parapet where the media fire is coming from, and they've taken those steps and they've done brilliant out of it. I know Magdalena Andersson obviously isn't in power anymore in Sweden. They had a change in the last election in September, but I think it shows what could be in other countries.
But let's not forget that she went to a party. I mean,
Sanna Marin, yeah.
yeah, you know, how dare she? How
this,
dare
again,
she enjoy herself?
It's you know, again, that's someone. To be fair, that wasn't actually started by the media. That was started by a friend who decided to leak that video, and it was a hype train that was then built on by politicians of the opposition parties, and a member of her own party then requested or said to her, "You should get drug tested, just be sure." And it's like, what? You know, what's the point of having that? What is that story there for? There's no need for that story. Like, she's doing it. Every leader goes out and parties and has fun. Has no one seen Michael Gove in Scotland in a club? Like, yeah, I'm sorry, and he never got drug tested.
If it was a bloke, it just be like, oh yeah, what a lad, what a bloke. But you look at the way female politicians are treated in the UK. Diane Abbott had a mojito on a train and had to publicly apologise. Like, it's just ridiculous. I mean, there's the way Diane Abbott's treated in the press and by the public is a whole nother episode.
She's like considered a running joke because of mathematical errors she made in I think it was in a Commons speech or like PMQ or something like that. But I think that started off like a massive like media barrage that she still faces today.
Yeah, again, if that was, I mean, just look at how many mistakes Boris Johnson makes. Willingly misled Parliament, allegedly.
So that's not a mistake. That is a crime.
Yeah, exactly. But because it's Boris. Oh yeah, it's just Boris being Boris. He's just a bloke. Blah blah blah. It's absolutely ridiculous. And the whole thing with Angela Rayner when Tories accused her of doing a Sharon Stone and uncrossing and crossing her legs to distract Boris Johnson. Like, it's not basic instinct; it's basic human decency to not. Like, why would you even suggest that?
God, it's, you know what, and it smacks of hypocrisy, because you remember those images of Rees-Mogg just like lounging on the front bench in the House of Commons, and there was no such media coverage of that.
No.
Or you know, it's wrong, and I don't understand where it comes from. It's portrayal within the media, it's portrayal within society that either female leaders can't be trusted, or because they're women, they're going to start World War III. What's that got? No, I mean the last two world wars were started by men, and I mean the first one was a feud between brothers that got out of hand. So
The war in Ukraine, you know,
exactly.
who was that started by? Oh, yeah, a small egotistical man. Oh, sorry, if don't. I hope he doesn't come after me.
The FSB are knocking at your door right now.
That's me banned from going into Russia. But it's just it baffles me. It honestly baffles me. I was brought up by a single mum, so I've always been taught to treat everyone how I want to be treated. Treat everyone with the same respect. So when you see in this, you know, at the highest levels of, you know, countries, world leaders being told, you know, you're not good enough because you're a woman, or, you know, you're only meeting because you're women in your same age. It just, it really, really riles me. Really riles me.
And it's something that's like we should be celebrating again. Like we should be celebrating that so much progress has been made for more female leaders within specifically the political sphere. I mean, you've got very outspoken leaders in the US like Alexandra Ocasio-Cortez, Hillary Clinton, obviously, who has to deal with a lot of shit, as it were. And then, you know, you've got other places like Iceland's parliament is almost, I think it's 50-50 split male female. Like that is, and I know it's a small country that maybe isn't at the forefront of everyone's minds when it comes to world politics, but that is a sign that it is possible. And I don't know what the numbers are in Parliament here in the UK, but they are steadily improving to the point where there are more females willing to enter politics. And I mean, you make a point there as well, is that we've had 3 female leaders in the UK, all of them for the Conservatives. I can't remember in the Labour leadership elections now. It was Lisa Nandy. Who was there? There was another female who was running against Keir Starmer. It was 2 females against him. But I can't remember who the other one was now.
Angela Eagle?
I don't know. But I mean, I mean, obviously Keir Starmer won there. But what you would hope is that there is a lesson for the Labour Party where they'll also now, in the future, there may be a high likelihood for them to have a female leader. So, you know, and also, I mean, with the opportunity they have at the moment as well to potentially take power, and Keir Starmer, I mean, Angela Rayner might be groomed to that deputy role to come forward and take over from Keir Starmer one day. But at the same time, you have to recognize as well we are talking about a party that's still somewhat divided. But again, you know, like I was saying though, there is progress.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, the flip side of politics, but in Italy, Giorgia Meloni, female leader, female prime minister of Italy. Obviously, the undertones of her politics have, you know, maybe what's propelled her to lead it. But again, she's done fantastically well.
I will say it is somewhat ironic that to get into power, she had to side with notorious womanizer Silvio Berlusconi, which is kind of speaks irony to me. But
the years that he was in charge of Italy, Jesus!
Did he tank the economy?
It was just chaos. Every other day there was something in the paper about him just being an absolute twonk.
Yeah. But ironically, you don't get, in terms of media coverage, it was more of a joke with him. Whereas, I mean, Meloni, for example, yes, she is. Her politics may not be something that you like, but she's been treated with just venomous hate within the media because of being a single mother. And I mean, what's that got to do with it? I know, like, again, my immigrant policy and policy towards immigrants in the waters around Italy and basically threatening them with being shot out of the water with gunboats is not a great policy. But at the same time, there are more important things like that to discuss rather than saying she's going to be a bad leader because she's a single mother. Like, again, what's that got to do with it?
Nothing. You got to look at the politics, not the person. That's the issue. But people can't seem to grasp that really simple concept.
It's like the female side of that personality politics we've discussed a few times now, which sort of, I mean, it's gone on for decades, but I think really come to the forefront with Trump and Boris. And basically, when it comes to men, they can get away with personality politics with spouting absolute and hiding their true intentions, as it were, especially in this country. And then female leaders, it's complete opposite. They say anything, and it's like they're treated like outcasts immediately.
Yeah, you look at Donald, like the grabber by the P word incident. Imagine if a woman had said, "Oh, grab him by the or grab him by the balls." The media just kick off for the simple fact that it is a woman that said it. Whereas Trump spouted us this rhetoric all the time, got away with it, all the issues about him being friends with Jeffrey Epstein and videos of him just being a general creep. But gets away with it. It is the personality politics that at time and time again, it's just a bloke. Just blokes being blokes. It's not though, is it?
It's that locker room talk idea. Like you and I shouldn't be able to go into the newsroom tomorrow and say to our female colleagues, a comment about grabbing one of them by the or whatever, and be fine with it. Whereas one of them comes up to us and says the same thing likewise for us, and like whatever, because they would, treatment wise, it would be so different. But like people like you and me and people that we, work with are much more like sort of you want to say down to earth. I think we're just more morally astute, if you want to put it that way. I don't know. Whereas you get so many people who find it easier to have their 2 pence, online, have their claim to fame online by pushing someone down for their sex because they can. And it's these sort of things. And again, I will claim that I think it is improving, but the fact that we still have to have a discussion like that and like this today in 2022 is appalling.
Oh, absolutely. The fact that questions are still being asked in press conferences about on those lines, it's I just it baffles me. I don't understand in what world you'd think that, just to come back to the original reason we're talking about this, in what world would you think that is an acceptable way? The fact that Jacinda Ardern just shut it down, didn't even acknowledge, didn't even entertain answering the question, because she's a good leader.
Yeah, and I think again she makes that point, like you would never have said this to Obama and Key, just because of their age or their gender, and this isn't a problem where I'm saying this is the media and male politicians only. It is a societal issue. Yes, it's easier to blame the other two because they are prominent in our everyday lives. They're on our phones as news, Twitter, whatever, whilst it's still alive. They're still on our front pages, things like that. They're on books, whatever, like you might pick up in the store that people have written, that again, when we talk about fundamental change, it boils down to, we as a society, definitely in the West, need to. There is still change required in terms of how we talk about women, how we treat women, how we recognize that it's not men and women, it's human beings. Sex has nothing to do with it. Age has nothing to do with it. We are all one species. Simple as that.
If someone's a then they're a doesn't matter who they are, what they look like. If someone's gonna be this might be a few bleeps in a row here, but if a person's a horrible person, then they're a horrible person.
Yeah.
If you treat someone different just because of how they look or what gender they identify as, then why? What if you just base all of your assumptions on how that person looks, but you don't know that person, you've never spoken to that person, you don't know them, you don't know anything about them, you've just based it all on your own preconceptions, then you've got to look at yourself and think, well, why am I doing that? What do I need to do to change it? But they tend to be the people that are the ones that are stuck in their ways and refuse to change. But I think if that mentality can be changed or can be challenged, and as it should be, and I think a lot of times it is now, I think that can go a long way to putting it on the path it should be on. And
yeah, I mean, you say this as well. I think it's two issues. It's one, the fact that it happens, and two, more people need to call it out more. And more people do. I mean, as in this case for this story, the reporter was shut down.
Yeah.
And everyone recognized the question was inappropriate and of no importance whatsoever to the day itself at all. So it's just a fundamental size, and there are positives. With you've got Iran. Women are currently fighting for better rights there because they are treated horrifically. We've got I said, I think the most female leaders at any time, at this current point in time. It's things are improving. It's just a case of people sitting down and thinking, right, how can we speed this up and make it make it better and not continue to have these incidents occur.
Yeah. There's the Reclaim the Night March in Sheffield last week, and people getting harassed and shouted at in the street. Women shouldn't feel unsafe to go out at night. Women, everybody should be able to feel safe, but women don't feel safe, and it's because there's people out there that want to go out and harass people and cause offense and cause harm a lot of the time, and those are the people that need to be educated from a very young age to say, well, why are you doing that? Why? Stop it, basically.
I mean, we and I know, so I can speak for you and I speak for myself as well. People like us who are going to work within the media industry, when we graduate and everything like that, and we're on our way to having a job as a reporter or whatever, we are the sort of people that we are more morally centered and more morally well placed and have a better understanding of what equality looks like, that we then have to make sure that for female colleagues we work with, for female friends, for our mothers, our daughters, our sisters, whatever, that we are shining a light on those issues, and we are pushing that societal change so that people get that it's not okay, and we are all one equal species, not different sexes, different races, different ages, because people do that with age for some stuff like that is a problem as well still. Making that move, shall we say, to people recognizing that equality as it should be.
Yeah, I agree. Treat people how you want to be treated. If you don't want to be, you know, you don't want to be treated badly, don't treat other people badly. You know.
Yeah, and I think we'll take that consideration as it is that things are improving. There's steps to be taken still, but things are moving in the right direction. But we just need to make sure that these sort of stories and these sort of incidents don't occur again. And yeah,
I think the takeaway from today is just be nice.
don't be
nice. Don't be a treat everybody the same. Don't be a. Can we do? Oh, we're gonna have to get that on a t-shirt now. Don't be a.
Oh god, I got to design that one. It's gonna be like your one from last week. God. Well, I hope you've enjoyed this video, this episode, and apologies again for being a week late. We're gonna try and keep up with the weekly uploads again.
It's more of a sort of general topic this week.
Yeah, I think, but an important one. Yeah, I hope everyone who's listened or is listening, whatever, has enjoyed. And remember, we're always open for comments, suggesting topic ideas to do. Because otherwise we will just go based off of whatever story we select from the news, and it would be too easy as well to just continuously select bullying or government scandals because they're there all the time. So this makes it a little bit more interesting. But yeah, feel free to comment ideas, like and subscribe as always. And yeah, you've been listening to What Not Another One.
We'll see you next time.